I did SMC, supply and demand, trend line, consolidation box, break and retest, head and shoulder patterns. And I was changing like month to month, almost 2 years before I settled into something. And those 2 years not profitable at all. At the end of the 2 years, I was getting profitable. And then it took me a year to kind of prove to myself that I am profitable. So I'd say it's a 3-year journey. Many people say, oh, I'm profitable. I've been profitable for 1 month. You're not. You need to see at the end of 12 months. That's the only time where you're like, And it doesn't mean you have to be profitable month to month, 2 months negative, but as long as the majority is more profitable, then you're doing well.
All right, guys, this is the very first podcast of the Forex Expo 2025. I got a close friend of mine here, Harry, who I've known for a while now. And yeah, he's been trading for 5 years now. He's documented every single one of his trades on YouTube live. And this guy's one of the realest and best traders I know. So Harry, we haven't done a proper podcast yet. This is going to be shorter than the usual. But tell me about your childhood. You grew up in Dubai. What did you want to become when you grew up? Did you always want to become a trader?
I wanted to become a professional athlete.
Doing what?
Any of the sports I was involved in. So when I first started, I started with it was motocross. So I wanted to be a professional motocross rider. Then I wanted to be a professional surfer. I actually wanted to be at some point a professional sports player. Played multitude of sport. Anything that I did, I wanted to be professional in it. And that seemed like to get a sponsorship and just do what you love every single day. So that's how it was when I was younger, trying to find things that I love,
So it sounds like you had a bit of ADHD growing up, bouncing between these activities.
It's kind of like to reach to the pro level. It's a whole different ball game. It's like what you don't really expect. It's like you really have to take it from the one stage to the next. And the problem I had was that I would get super good at something. And then when you were to commit to go pro, it's like, okay, now there's no sponsors. And then as well, it's talking about, how am I supposed to turn this into? Now, if I think about it, I kind of like, maybe I should have pursued with one thing, but I found enjoyment in being bad at something and getting good at it again.
It's like the next shiny thing.
Yeah.
Fun.
I guess you can call me the jack of all trades, master of none, except for, I guess, trading now, but I don't consider myself a master in trading at all. I don't think anyone is. I don't think you can master this game. You're learning every day.
It's a game of probabilities.
Yes.
And I know, because of course I've known you prior to this, you grew up with dyslexia.
Yes.
I also wasn't the best student in grade school. How did that shape you? Like when you grew up dyslexic, being a kid, like did you always think you were going to achieve this level of success?
No, I always was into sports, entrepreneurship, etc. That was always a part of my, my goals and what I wanted to do. But I did think, I guess I always visioned that I would be good at something. Whether success is an outcome of money or whatever it is, I feel like success is just being the best at whatever you set your mind to do, And that was success for me. So money comes along with it, I guess, especially when you do that in business.
And when did trading first come across your table?
Came in 2019.
How?
So I was in crypto. That's what I invested in crypto heavily. And you naturally in the space, you learn about trading and you start to trade crypto as well. And then you build from that, right? You build from that. So that's how it started. 2019, got into crypto. And then from crypto, I transitioned into trading Forex as it was more consistent. But it's a natural transition,
But when you got into trading crypto, just trading in general, was that through a YouTube video, an influencer, or was that
well, I was watching videos on analysis. And most of the guys who analyze are traders. So you naturally heard that, this would be good areas to take shorts from. I'm like, what's a short?
I remember those days.
Because you're only used to buying something, expecting it to go up, and that's your investment. Like, okay, what's a short? Then you're like, you can short the market and make equivalent money. That's super interesting. Need to research about that. Then you start to research and you start to find out all that stuff,
And what made you make the transition from crypto to Forex? Because crypto, like, when I got in trading, I started with crypto first.
Yeah.
And crypto is such a volatile thing where you see 1,000x's all the time. Well, at least back in the day, a couple years ago, it's kind of hard to find that now. I mean, what made you make the switch to something super much slower?
That was the whole point, is that it's something slower. It's something that's more consistent. Crypto is very volatile, kept changing and churning with when volume would come, when volume would not come. So it's a bit complex, and I felt like it's great for higher time frame investment. Back then I was a really good trader because all you do is buy the dip and you would get paid for that. As time went on, that didn't happen anymore. You would buy the dip and it would keep dipping and you would lose money. And especially, you know, when you're just not really using stop loss, you're just averaging down your entry price.
Premium and discount, you know?
Well, it was kind of like your entry price is higher, and then if you take a buy low, it brings your entry price down, it averages it, right? That happens in futures as well. So that's definitely something that was very, very easy to do, but obviously not sustainable. As soon as market goes sideways or goes down, you know, it's not easy. So that's where you transition into trading.
And you are someone who trades price action. Your strategy is very, very simple and straight to the point, using support and resistance and finding breakouts, right?
Yeah, not only breakouts, it's basically finding clean zones to trade in.
Lobster trading zones, right?
Yeah, lobster trading areas, that's the one. So whether I am in the middle of the range, right, I will look at where current price is and where I can tackle price. Because if we take a session and we may be limited on volume, volume is the only limiting factor in most trades, right? Because if you have no volume or you get the direction wrong, you will lose. But if you are in a current area, you can make profit if you are able to trade from that area. When you have to trade from an area that's far from where we currently are, there has to be movement that may be done. It's not guaranteed that it will reach that area and then start to bring you more volume. That might take another session. So the idea is looking where price is and then figuring out, what do I want to do with price in that zone? Do I want to be able to buy back up following my analysis? Do I want to sell back down in that zone? Do I want it to leave that zone? Maybe today I don't want it. I want it to leave that zone, right? So that's basically how I trade.
And I'm sure when you first discovered this strategy, this wasn't your first. When you first started trading, what was your first strategy and why did it develop into?
My first strategy was smart money concepts and liquidity.
I know you always talk trash on that.
Yeah.
Why?
So, because at the end of the day, it's price action just with a story behind it. So you overcomplicate. It's great to sell. That's why a lot of people sell it and do super well, because there's so much knowledge you have to keep on learning. But honestly, it's something where you overcomplicate the process. Everything I did wrong, something ended up a story behind why it was wrong. And then you'd have to go learn about that. And then it's like, it's never ending. Whereas it's okay to be wrong, but you've done everything right, because it's a game of probabilities and statistics, right? Even if you do everything right, you can still lose. So once you kind of learn that, it really changes your perspective. And it just didn't work, the story. I didn't want a story. I wanted to learn how to do, not what is going on in terms of all complex stuff, you know?
But I guess your bias on SMC traders, do you think that SMC does work for people?
It does, but the majority, it doesn't. It's just fact. And a lot of SMC traders make it feel like it works because they get this massive RR trades and then they're like, yay, but then they're losing for weeks. So it works for people who actually understand the game, that this is just something that's repeatable pattern in the market. Forget about the story behind and you need to stop out retail traders and sweep of this liquidity and rebalance the market and stuff like that. No, market might want to fill this specific zone. For whatever reason, you can put a story behind it. Can we prove that story? You're not the market maker. You can't tell me how many orders are there, what is happening. We're retail. We get very limited access to information. Of course, with good access of the information. But since these are retail concepts, there's no, by any means, this is nothing. You know, retail concepts are something that have limited capability. Retail concepts, right? Institutions have way more access to data that we can't even get our hands on. So what we try to do is repeat patterns that may happen. And that's the best we can do to our ability, is to repeat patterns and then just play the mental game.
So you started with SMC, now you're trading price action. But in these 5 years, how many times did you strategy hop, and when did you start finding success with trading?
Everything. I strategied hop to everything. I did SMC, supply and demand, trend lines, consolidation box, break and retest, head and shoulder patterns, all the patterns you can think of, everything. And I was changing like month to month. You know, in the first year, month to month, I was just trying. 1 month something doesn't work, next 1 month something doesn't work. So it took me around roughly almost 2 years before I settled into something, and those 2 years not profitable at all. And then it took me a year. So at the end of the 2 years, I was getting profitable, and then it took me a year to kind of prove to myself that I am profitable. So I'd say it's a 3-year journey because many people say, oh, I'm profitable. I've been profitable for 1 month. You're not. You need to see at the end of 12 months. That's the only time where you're like, And it doesn't mean you have to be profitable month to month. At the end of it, you can be like, had 2 months negative, but as long as the majority is more profitable, then it's a big benefit. You're doing well, You're doing well.
So it took you 3 years to essentially find success with trading. Do you think that timeline can be cut down if someone doesn't strategy hop? They focus on one strategy. And another thing I wanted to bring up was when you were strategy hopping in your first 3 years, were you scalping? Were you day trading, swing trading?
A mix, actually. So in crypto, I was swing trading, and I always keep swing. Till today, I still swing trade. I have higher time frame positions that I treat as swing trades. They're more investments though. So I will use my technicals to enter. Towards the end of the year, I always swing trade, even on normal daily time frame swing trades. And I call it my yearly bonus. So it's like whenever there's a certain market conditions that I like for swing trading, and I will capitalize off those market conditions, and then I'll swing. But all it is taking my strategy with one adaptation for higher time frame, but the entries are all the same. You know, it's just using better zones and more understanding about fundamentals. You know, those are very important.
I guess what's the best confluence that you use? Like what's like when you see this when you see this A+ setup, you know it's going to be a good trade. What is like your
bias, man? It's called bias. There's something, I have a bias. I have a specific way of using daily and 4-hour candles, and it's a topic that is covered in all of my media sources. FKB will have it as well, and it's bias, and it basically keeps me safe for the day and tells me what I can and cannot do. You know, based on if bias is bullish, means I'm only looking for bias. If I disrespect that, high chance I'm going to lose.
So I remember I've read into your strategy a little bit. Basically, if the daily candle and the 4-hour candle close bullish, you're taking longs, and if it closed bearish, you're taking shorts.
Essentially, yeah. Time frame. Yeah, but it depends. It's always the previous candle, because 4 hours candles change every 4 hours. So that's going to depend on it. And then bias gets into depth when you also have fundamentals behind it, because it's easy when they're next to each other. But when you have a daily candle bullish and a 4-hour candle bearish, now it's called mixed bias because they're mixed. But then you still want to be on one side of the market. You don't want to say, okay, I'll take both buys and sells. There are days you can do that, but you want to have an underlying bias, and that can be done through one of those candles, you know?
Well, yeah, we got to wrap up the podcast here now because these are short podcasts since we're at the expo. But if you guys do want to see a full podcast, a proper like 1 hour long, 90-minute long podcast with Harry, be sure to like and comment below and we can get that going.